Yeah, so I'll get rolling. So this is Author Roulette. I'm Jeff's bookshelf. The brainchild behind this thing. So it kind of got kicked off from there. It's my co-host KR Solberg. She also is an author, which I actually really enjoy her book. If you want to give your book a shout out before we get rolling, I'm always happy to do that. So
okay, yeah, I write epic fantasy too. If you don't mind seeing a backwards book cover. This is Remnant. Uprising is on the shelf behind me. I write these with my mom. It's epic flintlock fantasy. Think Castlevania meets The Patriot with a Firefly-inspired crew of misfits. Book 3 will be coming out hopefully in the fall. It's a lot of fun. I have signed books that you can get directly from me, ebooks you can get directly from me, and audiobooks that you can get directly from me. You can avoid Bezos altogether, or you can get them from there. That's fine too.
All right, so we got like 6 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and pop them up if they're here, while you can give the rundown if you'd like.
Yeah, so for anybody who is new here, or if you just want a reminder of how this works, the reason we call it roulette is because we do these speed rounds of interviews. We do 2 featured authors, which Michael Milwassel just joined, and he'll talk about his stuff. KR House is joining us too.
Did mommy tell you to get out of bed?
Mick, mute your mic. I don't know that he knows that you brought him up. Anyway, so we're going to do 30 minutes of chatting with these guys. I have some fun questions to throw at them. Don't worry, they've been warned. Hey, and then after that, they're going to pop down for a little bit, and we're going to invite just random authors from the audience who want to come up to do a 4-minute speed book pitch for you guys. So if you're nervous about pitching your book and haven't practiced a lot, this is a great opportunity to practice. You will never get better at this unless you just do it. So there will be 4 opportunities in each round to pop up and pitch your book. The standards that we have are, we're prioritizing epic fantasy and lit RPG, but if there's nobody who wants to pop up and do those, you just tell us what your book is. And we'll get you up here. We are featuring human authored and human covered books. If that's not you, please let it pass you by. But we want to hear about indie books. We want to hear about your stories. Be prepared with, your book pitch, your genre, where we can find you, and how best to engage with your work. So, and then we'll have these guys come up again for another 30-minute round, then do another 20-minute round of roulette, and then a little wrap up and prizes. Ooh. And the prizes will be quiz question prizes. So pay attention to what these 2 are saying.
Aha.
Because in order to get the prize, we're going to ask a pop quiz question. And whoever answers that question first, whoever Jeff sees the answer first, that's the one who gets the prize. And who is our sponsor today, Jeff?
Shout out Mango Media. They're the ones helping us out, get us some books to give out. So hopefully they don't get too mad here on the app. I know both of you guys also have TikTok shops, right? I'm gonna keep trying to shout out TikTok shop.
Yeah, maybe they'll get grace for us
to try to appease the beast that TikTok shop is, because they're pretty big things about that. So if you want, we can go ahead and get rolling. We're at like basically 8:10 now. Awesome. So we could start with Mike and then go to the other KR. Now there's 2 of you guys. KRs are growing on us.
That's right.
So if you guys would like, Mike, go ahead and give you a pitch.
Give me a pitch. We're going to do Solberg and House.
They said we have gambling behavior going on. That's hilarious, because I think it's the Author Roulette.
Rounds.
Change the name.
Prizes, quizzes.
Yeah, author rounds or something.
Oh, no.
But
rounds Mike, of interviews, TikTok interviews.
If you would like, go ahead and give like an elevator pitch of your book, then we'll go to UKR and you can give one of yours. So go ahead, Mike.
Paragon Exordium. It's got elves on a tank fighting orcs in Atlanta. Like, what more do I need to tell you? It's about a magical apocalypse in our world. When the sky shatters, humanity is brought to the brink of extinction, and a bunch of Black Ops dudes are trying to figure out what happened to the world, how to survive in the world. Why are there elves and dwarves everywhere? What do we do next? So that's the basic pitch, and then I've got a short story collection and a deluxe version of this, which is currently funded on a thing that I can't say the name of. I know better, but that's like I think $14-15 away from our next stretch goal there. So if you know what I'm talking about, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna try so hard not to get a spin.
Yeah. So remember, guys, to try to help keep everything afloat, we do have to jump through some hoops. It is the name of the game.
Yep.
So if you guys are interested in their books, the best way I feel like to appease the monster that this thing is just follow them, both of the authors or any of the authors you see on here that your book sounds interesting. Just go give them a follow on TikTok. It does help them. It does help promote them. I'm sure there's ways they have links in their bios that you can find and stuff. I feel like that's the easiest way to jump through the hurdles of not getting kicked out because they're rude.
Yep.
It's just the name of the game. I'm sorry, I got to keep like saying it, but the last time we were just getting rolling, and then they kicked us in the teeth. So
yeah, they did. They kicked me in the teeth. It was me. It's okay, you guys. I can own it. Also, guys, share this live with people who enjoy epic fantasy. So that the more people we can get in here, and the more people who are, tapping their thumbs on Jeff's face or wherever you tap for that, that does well for here too.
So, KR, would you like to give your elevator pitch for your book?
Yes, I will. So, hello, I'm KR, and this is my book, The Call of Wind. It is about two brothers who live in a world where people can control the elements, but at the cost of their humanity. So you turn into a monster based off the element you control unless you get a special rune to stop it. So think like The Last Airbender, but if there was a chance, it would turn people into like Eldritch horrors, body horror type stuff. So the younger brother finds out he's a wind caller. He's in need of a rune. He goes to the only person in the world who will help him, which is his older brother, Mark, who's a life caller and controls plants. And their stories end up kind of diverging. It's the first book in a series, so the series and world gets bigger as the books go on. And book 2 comes out this summer. So this is The Call of Wind.
Nice.
So you're like on the move, huh? Like with it coming out, like you said you plan on this being a series, right? So
It's going to be a trilogy. Yeah.
trilogy?
Yeah.
Trilogies.
I love trilogies. I feel like it's like a bite-sized series.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
feel like trilogies are usually the perfect size. Like for like a good size book. If it's like a smaller book, I'm okay with it being a little bit bigger. Like I'm a big fan of the Dresden Files, and there's like a 17, 18 book series.
Yeah.
But they're not very big books, so like I feel like it's okay. But then when you get into like the Wheel of Time, where they're like massive books that are 15 book series, you're like,
Yep.
I don't have time for this. That's a lot of books.
It is a lot of books.
Yeah. Can I just point out that we have 2 banger covers here? Nick, move your face for a minute so we can see your cover, and then KR, hold yours closer. That artwork
Yeah.
is absolutely killer. I love it. Probably can't say that word either.
I've been doing lives on TikTok, and people will be like, "Oh, I stopped because of the cover art." So
Yeah.
Araki Hakosari, he's amazing.
Yes, I am a sucker for covers. Like it's a problem. I know we're not supposed to judge books by their covers, but I constantly do. And that
See,
cover
we are though.
works. Like it's like
Okay, who said that?
So
everyone.
And has anyone told them that they're wrong?
Right, but like it doesn't apply when like looking for a book. It's don't judge an entire book. Like in full context, it's saying don't assume everything about the book because of the cover. Covers are still allowed to be like what draws you to a book. That's their whole purpose.
Yep.
I do.
Yep.
And I've like every book I've ever been like, this is gonna be a good book.
Yeah.
It's pretty much worked out because they like I feel like if you're taking like it's wrong of me to do this, but like if you're taking true time of you to like put like genuinely care into your covers, I feel like they're probably put more care into writing their book. Like
Right.
that's just how I view it. Especially like I'm just a sucker for a good cover. It works every time. It's a surefire way to get me.
And it's a good thing to hear that from readers because writers in general will hear people, they'll like make their covers with AI or something. I'll be like, well, you're just saying that because you're a writer. I'm like, no, people don't want to read it.
Yeah.
No, like, it really does. Like, I feel like I can tell, like, and when you see the like generic, like AI cover, you just feel like there's not as much care into the book is what there should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when you see a legitimately like well done cover, like you feel like there's more care into the book as a reader. Like
Yeah.
that's how I view it. Like, oh, they cared about this thing, so there's probably more passion in the book because there's passion in the cover.
Absolutely. Mick, people are asking how you got your covers done.
So this one is by Serena Malon, who is a Canadian artist who has even done some Magic the Gathering cards and stuff. So I just reached out to her. I looked at a bunch of authors and stuff, and so that's who did that one. Apocrypha, which I can't show you because I have a green screen on. Apocrypha is by Yorzi Hernandez, who's my primary character artist, a bit of a discovery who I've kind of pulled into the indie author community, and I keep seeing other people use his art, and I'm very happy with that. And then book 2, Attrition's cover is by Paulina Gipp, who is also phenomenal and was introduced to me by another indie author. And she had a hand in designing our cover for the deluxe edition. Nice. So it's a collaboration of different artists and stuff. I like to diversify. And that's one of the funnest parts of being an indie author to me is getting to work with artists and commission art from them and commission covers and work directly with them for covers. And I love when I get to the stage where I'm like, okay, it's time to start working on the cover.
You and
Gotta pick an artist.
Your book 2 matches the vibe of book 1 very well.
Yeah.
I would say, like people kind of freak out. I gotta have the same artist do it, and if you can, and if that works out, awesome.
Right.
But it's not the end of the world because artists also know how to be professionals. And,
right.
And there's there's artists out there with similar styles they can adapt. So
was that a big struggle for you, like finding an artist, like when you were starting to I want to get serious about this book? Like, what time did you take in finding a cover artist? Because clearly we all can agree that cover art is very important to the how well your book does, right?
Right.
So was it did you take a lot of time, or is it first come, I like this person, that's who I wanted to get?
Funny enough, the Paragon Apocrypha cover was actually originally the Exordium cover. And the feedback we got was it didn't represent the book well enough. I mean, people didn't like it for that book. So we ended up commissioning a different artist in a entirely different cover, just because of the feedback we got from people about it. So Apocrypha was really easy because we had a picture in our back pocket that worked for short stories really well. It transferred, we felt like, really well for that. So that cover art was easy because we just used a piece we already had that we just hadn't used. But Exordium, it was a lot of comparison and looking at a lot of artists. And I grew up in a family of artists, so I have a lot of familiarity with the process and stuff. So it was just a question of narrowing it down to someone who we felt matched our style. And I think the biggest mistake we made with book 1 was not the cover art, but hiring an artist who we thought hiring someone with more notoriety would help us more. We thought their fame would push us a little bit, and it didn't. And so it was super expensive. I love it. It's phenomenal. It's a great cover, but the cost comparatively was drastic. It was like the cost of our edits was the cost of our cover, and she was great. I love her work, but Trician's cover went with a different artist who was like a sixth of the price. And they're just less known, but it's just as pretty and it's just different and it matches the vibe. And she knew to kind of do a similar style and stuff. So it's a process. You got to know what you're looking for, but there's so many wonderfully talented artists out there that can do a really good job and will work with you and will be super affordable. I think that's the key is you can there's a bunch of indie authors that get the same artist, and I know how much their cover arts are because I know the artist. And they all are gorgeous, but I recognize the artist every time. So I really like bringing a new author or a new artist into the scene whenever I can. And so Paulina Gipp, is who we're going to stick with from now on for our covers.
Nice. I did the same thing with my audiobook.
Yeah.
Getting famous people to do it, which, does sell it sort of, but not to the point where I made the money back yet.
Right.
So I'd ask you the same question, Kara. When you were sitting down and you're like, okay, it's time to get serious. How much time and effort did you put into your cover and the design of your cover art? Did you have any say in it? Because you do have a really good cover. It's very striking. So
yeah. So first I was like, okay, what kind of cover do I want? And I looked at, everyone says to do this, right? You go on Amazon or wherever and you look at, okay, who are the people that I think my book is similar to? And I was like, okay, I want to go with an illustrated cover because I really like that style for the classic epic fantasy feel. And then I was like, how do I find an artist? And there were 3 places that I looked, or 3 methods I used to look. One was Instagram, and I just Googled book cover artist or epic fantasy book cover artist, and I found a lot of people that way. One was looking at covers of books I liked that were doing well on Amazon, but not too well, or they were like, for sure indie authors, and then finding out who the cover artist was. A lot of people will quote the cover artist in the book, and then sending them an email asking them if they were free. And then another thing is ArtStation is a great place to find artists if you haven't used ArtStation before. I found some really great artists there who were less expensive because they're living in other countries. But the one I found over there that I really, really liked, who was less expensive, was Booked Out. But this guy I found, he did the covers for Primal Hunter, and that's how I like found his name. But yeah, so it didn't take, and once I hired him, it was super smooth though. I think some of that depends on who you work with. And the artist I worked with was awesome. Like, he was so receptive to feedback. And then also there were times where I'd be like, okay, well, you're a book cover artist, so like, what do you think? Because I really don't know. And he always had like a great like take on things. So yeah.
This will kind of be open for both you guys, because I kind of like this like artsy question, especially with how everything is right now. Did you guys get like a couple options, or was it like, hey, like this is what I think your authors like your thing should be, and you kind of fell in love with the first one? So we'll go with Mike first, then we'll switch over to Kiara. How did it go for you?
Yeah, for Exordium, Serena had done covers before, and she's like a really high profile artist and stuff. So she sent like 5 different sketches. And that was a tough choice because I liked all 5 of them immensely. I was even like, hey, can I just like get you to finish the art on some of these, or can I just use the sketches, because the sketches were so good on their own? He's like, I'd want to polish them a little more and charge you for each of them. I was like, okay, we're just gonna go with this one that we like best, because I had a Discord community and I polled them. I'm like, which of these do you guys like best, so I can get insight from people who are going to be looking at the book, not just me, because I have my own biases. So that's how that went down. Similarly with Yorzy, who does a lot of my, who did Apocrypha and does a lot of my character art, he always sends me 1 to 2 different sketch poses and stuff. And same with Poligna, she sends me multiple at the very start, and you approve and you work through it with them, and that's a lot of fun, is getting to make those changes along the way.
That's right, Max. KR squared.
Yes, I saw that. I was like, yeah.
Well, I'd say the same for you. Like, how did it go for you, KR, when you were getting, like, did you get a couple different options to go with, or did you just find one you liked, like, right off rip?
So I'm pretty picky with art. And I was like, this is the scene that I want. So I was like, here's the scene. I sent him the scene, and I was like, I want a girl turning into a tree with these women around her. And then he sent me 4 different versions of that, which again, I can just say, like, he's such a good artist, because even the sketches, I was like, how is this a sketch? This is incredible. I have a video where I show what the sketches looked like. But yeah, so that was kind of what the process looked like. I didn't get a ton of different versions because I had a specific thing in mind, and he was like, okay.
So we'll kind of start diving into your books a little bit more, so for you, KR, how did like the idea of your book come about? Like, what made the idea spring into your head of once you got rolling?
So the idea actually came about sort of in a weird way, because I was, it was like, after college, I'd been working for a little bit, and I had this book since college that I'd been working on, and it was a sci-fi book. And I was like, I'm sick of this sci-fi book. It's too hard. I'm getting in my head about it. I'm going to write fantasy, and I'm going to to get over my perfectionism, I'm going to write a throwaway book, and I'm going to make it super basic and easy. And so it's going to be elemental magic. And then I was like, oh, but what if the consequence of the elemental magic was that they turn into monsters? You have to get these runes. It's hard to get the runes. And then, of course, I fell in love with the idea, and I fell in love with the book, and it became very much not a throwaway book. But that's kind of how I like sat down to be like, okay, I'm going to write something to help me get over my perfectionism, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why it's got the elemental magic, it's got adventure, it's got like a farm boy protagonist, it just has a lot of things I like. So I think that's kind of why it became what it was, because it was just like, oh, this is something that'll be kind of more easy to write, I guess, was my thought at the beginning.
And I'd say the same for you, Mike. How did you come up with the idea? Because I have read your book, and it's one of the favorite, like it's like my favorite line I've ever come up with for a book, and I use it every time I think of your book. That it's like the truest of fantasies, because it has like a touch of everything in it,
right?
And I just can't never help but like think about that. Like,
yeah.
So how did you come up with the idea of like just like throwing everything fantasy on the wall and all of it?
Sure. Sure. So, like, the original concept came from watching the movie Red Dawn, which is an 80s action movie about communists invading America. And my dad showed that to me in high school, and I was reading Lord of the Rings at the time. And so I had a dream that was just a fusion of those two. So that's where the original concept came from. That idea evolved and escalated. And the one of the primary philosophies while writing the book was the idea that every fantasy being and every fantasy race and stuff used to exist in our world. And the reason we have legends and stories and things like that, and books like Lord of the Rings and books like Chronicles of Narnia and all that, is it is the collective conscious memory of these things that used to exist that are now locked out of our reality. So when that catalyst of the book, which is the shattering, happens and all those things come back and humanity is brought to the brink of extinction, it was very much like, well, if it exists in our consciousness, if it exists as a concept or something we've discussed, it exists in this world because it's something we remember. So that's how that all ties in, and that's why there's no limit to the number of different kinds of creatures you can see as the story progresses. On each book, we want to make sure we introduce a couple more in some capacity or another. Like book 1 doesn't have any dragons, but has wyverns. Book 2 has dragons and a unicorn and manticores and some other stuff. And then some wendigos, and just all kinds of different things in it that we like to incorporate along in the story.
Yeah, the moment a giant talking snake showed up, I knew, this is going to work out well for me.
And to chapter 1, baby.
Nice.
So, KR, you said for you that like you had like big inspirations to start off with your to kind of like lead you down like the road of your book, right? And you said Avatar was one of them.
Yes, Avatar. I love The Last Airbender.
I'm a big Avatar. Like I was just talking about this with my friends at work because one of my friends hasn't watched it, and like me and another friend have, and we were like gushing over like how like almost perfect every episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender was. So like for that to be one of the inspirations for your book is a really big calling to your book for me personally as like just a reader. So like hearing that is like. Is that one of the big pitches that you throw out to people? Is that like it has the last Avatar vibes? Because everyone loves it. Like
yeah, and that's a pitch that I use that I've also heard other like readers use. Like sometimes you think of like, okay, my book is kind of like this, but when you hear a reader say, "Oh, your book reminded me of this," you're like, okay, I actually did capture that. So I think it's like The Last Airbender in the way the magic works and also in like the cultural stuff. Like the fact that like I feel like The Last Airbender, the different cultures feel really distinct, and the way that they're like connected to the different element they control, I think is really cool. And I try to do that too, but differently, right? I have like the 4 elements they do plus plants. Yeah. So
I did read your I was able to read the prologue before this. I was like gonna read it and then like the whole thing, and of course I always like overshoot my goals, or I set the bar way too high for myself. But I totally got that in the prologue when I don't want to spoil, but like when the character that you're featured is like moving through the area and he's like thinking about where he's going and where he's come from and all this stuff, and kind of like looking back in time, like remembering back to like what he used to think about this place and stuff. I definitely got those vibes.
Okay, cool. Good.
Yeah. If you guys see like, so KR, you said you would like to push the reading part of it to the second half, right? Is that how you want to do it?
I totally forgot to ask them ahead of time, like, do you want to do a live reading, which is kind of puts you on the spot. But I did just throw in the Discord, like, if you want to, like 3 to 4 pages or so for the second when we come back. So if you're cool with that, we can move forward with that plan. I know I'm kind of throwing that out there last minute. So, someday we'll be super organized and polished. It is not this day.
This is the cool thing. So this is only the second one of these that we've done. So you guys are like still kind of on the ground floor of something I hope to be big one day, as long as like TikTok really helps us and not like try to kick us off the app every 2 seconds. Like we've already got like 3 warnings already, and I feel like we've been fairly good. Like there's nothing, you can't even like mention another app without them getting like extra salty.
Yeah.
Right. You change it from roulette to round robin or something.
I don't even know if that's it. Like sometimes they'll say that and then you can appeal it and it'll be fine. But it's just, they're so sensitive.
Yeah.
They are.
So, KR, how are we doing on time right now? Are we doing pretty good?
We're doing fine. We've got 10 more minutes of hanging with these guys. And you know what I didn't do yet?
Uh-oh.
I did not ask my would you rather question.
What you have
I did warn them that I would have a would you rather. I didn't tell them what it was.
Oh, okay, I was like, I don't remember.
No, I didn't tell you what the question was. I just told you that one existed.
Right.
Is the final boss of a jealous parent? That's a funny, like, TikTok is the final boss of the jealous
If you
parent.
want, hit them with your questions, KR. It'd be a good time.
Yeah, all right. Would you rather write a book where every sentence starts with a conjunction
No.
or one where you can't use any adjectives?
Oh,
They both suck.
The
So it's a really
adjectives.
good question.
I'm going to use so many adverbs.
I don't know. I think
Revenge of the
I'm
adverb.
I'm gonna say the conjunctions one, partially to be different, and partially because I love a good adjective. I'm like, you can't have like, then you can't describe the quality of any of your nouns. I don't know if I can do that, but it will suck to read to be like, and this, but
this,
and
yeah.
this, and this. That does sound pretty awful.
Can you just like use stop as if it's a conjunction?
Is therefore and however, are those conjunctions technically? Or are those not?
Just treat it like a telegraph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Therefore sounds like it might be.
Every time you see and, it means end of sentence.
Yeah, you just have to think of it as a period. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. That was my ridiculous would you rather question. I meant for that to be an icebreaker at the beginning, but we just kind of like rolled right into it. You guys are comfortable.
Ice
This
fears
is our
us.
second time now, so we're like, okay, the training wheels are only kind of hitting the ground sometimes.
Yeah, I kind of my cats knocked something off my kitchen counter earlier, and I just heard something hit the ground, and I was like, "That's the cat." So I'm so sorry for disappearing. I was like, "Wait, no, don't break anything," and then stabbed me.
That's the fun thing is as these go along, like I've been doing like book interviews like this for like a while now, so like the interview process is really easy. Like I can just come up with like crazy questions off the top of my head that for the most part seem to land. I don't know how I do it. It's just a thing. But
Well, you hit a rhythm and you're engaged in the conversation, so then you're like something else pops in your head like, oh, I want to ask this.
Yeah, every good interview is just a good conversation.
Absolutely.
that's how I try to hold like when I'm doing interviews is do it more of a conversation than just like bombarding with questions over and over again.
Sure.
So like seeing that like KR is a really big like Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. I am also that. So that gives you things to talk about, you know, like it's more than just always the book. Like I'm also interviewing you guys and trying to find out who your interests are and like what they are. So that's what makes it kind of fun. But I have like recently discovered a question that's like one of my favorite questions like that I've come up with. How did you guys know where the end to your book would be? Like book one.
Ooh, that's
Not
a
the
good
series, book one.
Yeah, like how did you know like this is where I need to end it before I go on to the next one? Because you both are writing series, so there have to be a good like this is the right time to end this book.
Yeah. Yeah. It was when I reached the conclusion of the third act.
That's such a cop-out answer. Try again.
No, but like I can't without spoiling because there's a character thing that happens that's at the end of the third act. It's like, all right, that's this book because it's like the culmination of everything the book's been building to.
Well, what I mean by
characters.
that, so for you, because I kind of understand for you, like, did you plan it that way? Like, did you like we're like, this is how I want this book, the first book to end, or were you it because like some people are just going and like, ooh, this is like a good moment, you know?
Yeah,
like, so
yeah.
It's
That comes.
person.
That's just a tricky question about are you a pantser or a plotter, right?
In a way, yeah.
In a way, yeah. And I mean, I'm a little of both, but like I had before I started writing, I had the outline of where I wanted to go and what the major points and stuff were. So I knew roughly where book one needed to end in order to pick up the next book and have a satisfying conclusion. Because that's the thing about book one is I wanted it to be able to be read on its own. And I think it can be read on its own. But there's enough questions that are unanswered that you'll want to read more, but you won't be like devastated when you get to the end, if that makes sense. There's a balance I was going for with that.
And for you, KR, how did you know like book one, like this is where I want to end before I hop into book two?
So the ending of book one is one of the things that has stayed the same in all the different drafts I did for it. And I love series that, like, I really like Red Rising, and I love the ending of Golden Sun. and like endings of books where in series where you feel like you must read the next one immediately.
Yeah.
So my book ends at a pretty high emotion, tension. It's actually something I've gotten people don't like because it's like people are like, oh, what? But this is like it's like a cliffhanger. Basically, it ends on a cliffhanger. Well, which actually like I just got my SPIFBA review and I was cut. And it's one of the things the guy didn't like about it. He was like, this is like which is a thing that like I love in books.
Mm-hmm.
I want the floor knocked out from under me and feel like I have to read the next one. And so that's what I tried to do, which I think is whether or not you'll like that is dependent on you. But fortunately, book 2 comes out, like I said, comes out this summer. So if you read it now, you won't have to wait as long. But yeah, it ends on like a really like, I wanted it to end in kind of a kind of way, like a gut punchy.
Nice.
So.
I did a complete 180 with that in book 2. My book 2 is the exact same for the sequel. So book 1, you're like, okay, we're gonna go. Book 2, it's like, oh my god, people are going to be furious. It's going to be great.
Yes, I love that.
So we still doing good with time?
Yep, we got 4 more minutes before we got to kick these guys down to the audience.
So, do you have any questions you want to ask? I've been kind of like dominating the questions of this go around.
I have another would you rather.
Oh my gosh.
Because I actually am really would you rather write off your best character, and by that I mean but they don't like that word here. Your main favorite character, or have the main bad guy win.
Ooh.
I don't know if I can answer this.
I think it depends on the story for me. I think there's some stories where, like, the main character being written off is like the worst possible ending.
Yeah.
But there's some stories where the worst ending is just the bad guy winning.
Yes. So let me rephrase the question. Would you rather have the bad guy win, or have the demise of your best main guy gal at a point that is does not serve your purpose?
Okay.
Is that better?
I think
I think
I'd rather
I'm going to say the bad guy win because of how interesting that would be for my story, and because I have like 5 bad guys. So it would be interesting to see how different ones winning would affect the stories in different ways. That would be really fun to explore, is the effect that would have on the story.
Yeah.
Okay, for the story we're currently writing?
Yeah.
Oh. I think it'd be more interesting. I don't know. I'm going to say, again, okay, to be different, I'm going to say write off one of the main people.
Okay.
I think it would be interesting. I think it might even be more interesting to see how my other characters react to one of the main people. Because my 2 main characters are brothers, right? Mm-hmm. So they almost would be, for them, the story would be worse if one of them were to die than if the bad guy was to win, I think.
Mm. Yeah. Max says if you have the bad guy win, it's just another launching point for another series.
There you go. I like how you think.
There you go.
I have a saying, and it's only the dog is safe in my book. So we'll see where that goes in my series.
That's so good.
All right. We are going to wrap up this first half of the feature interviews. So these 2 are going to jump down into the audience. And we are going to open up for author roulette, which means that there are 4 chances so there's a chance for 4 different indie authors to pop up and give us their book pitch. And you qualify for this if you have a book that is either coming out soon, like you have a publishing date. People can go either pre-order it or follow, get on your newsletter or whatever, or follow your tickety talks and whatnot. And so it has to be in 2026, or it's already published. So if you don't have a publishing date, this is not for you. We want people to be able to go and take action. It does have to be indie published, so self-published. You are the publisher. It has to be human written and human covered. And we are prioritizing epic fantasy and lit RPG. So if those are you and you would like to come up here and give us your 4-minute book pitch, you are welcome to do that. If you're not in those genres, we still might have a chance to bring you up if nobody else is bringing that up, if nobody's popping up in those genres. You're releasing a dark fantasy in the summer. Okay. VN, you weren't able to come up last time, right? I should also say that if you come up before, let's get other people give a chance. It could be epic. You were up last time. Okay. We're gonna see if we've got anybody else.
Yeah, just give us a second. If we get back around, we'll bring you back up. If there's any other fantasy authors that are in the comments, hop up and let us know what you got working on.
Can hear my dog licking his chops.
You want to do the YA fantasy? We'll bring this guy up.
Third out May 20th. All right. It sounds like Wilton. It sounds like Jeff's bringing you up if you're ready.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. There we go. Hello. Hey, so tell us your name and tell us about your book.
Yeah, Wilton Burke. First, thank you, KR House, for inviting me over here. So I met her at Author Nation at the reading portion, book signing. So she invited me in here. It was very nice. Yeah, I've got a fantasy trilogy that's come together here real nicely. Kind of, let's try to do this. Get the camera a little bit better. There you go. So this is Magic Collapse. I can bring it up real quick here.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is my first one in this trilogy. It's clean YA fantasy, epic fantasy. Magic is failing, and this ragtag crew is thrown together on this ship that starts flying through the sky, and they're looking for answers. They travel to all these different flying islands, and on each of the different islands, magic has failed in a different chaotic way. Yeah, and what's really nice about the cover, I see VN down there, is as soon as I saw it from, like, I gave the concept with, like, the positioning of stuff, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is nice, and I jumped on getting all 3 of them done. So
they're all super consistent.
Yeah, and they just theme so well. So this is the second one. This is Magic Unleashed, and this is Magic Colliding. This is the one that's coming out May 20th.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
awesome.
so they're in the flying islands, and then they travel to a desert land, and then they travel to a jungle.
Okay. So are those kind of the 3 settings featured in each of the books?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And if people want to find your books without saying all the words that I say that get us bananaed. Oh, cool. Oh, wow.
Like, there's a really nice full illustration in the back of the first one.
Oh, that's cool.
And the second one as well. So.
Nice. Where do people find your books if they want to purchase them?
The Rainforesty store.
Yes.
You can request them anywhere. Also on TikTok Shop, you can get them, and they come signed copies that way.
So
Very
that
cool.
would be the best place to buy your book is the TikTok Shop. It's the best. So yeah, if the book looks really interesting, you guys, please by all means, like, give him a follow. Go check out his TikTok Shop. It helps the authors a lot. It helps.
Yep.
It just helps, man. Getting these people like as much views and love as we can is the goal of this.
Even if you just have it sitting in your cart it helps their algorithms. So if you're not sure you want it yet, or you're waiting for, your
Like the price
your
of the ebook is free currently.
okay. There you go. You heard that. Free book.
Yeah, saying
But yeah,
TikTok
it's
Shop is like Beetlejuice. It like wipes out like other things. I wish the algorithm worked that way. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, they're talking about the TikTok Shop 7 times, so they're gonna we'll take off a strike.
yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. It's ridiculous. All right, thanks, Wilton, for coming up here. We're going to have you drop down, and then we are going to offer a spot for someone else, and I'm going to remember to turn my timer on at the right time. So if there is anybody in the audience who is an indie author who has an epic fantasy out or coming out soon that you would like to do the 4-minute book pitch, just throw a comment in saying, pick me, and maybe what the genre of your book is. So your pirate, yeah, SJ is your pirate book. Does it have a pub date yet? I feel like it does. Is she still hanging out in here?
I don't know if she's still here. Let me see if she's still here.
We can all send her an invite at the same time, just
Yeah, right.
spam her messages. VN, why don't you come on up? You've been patiently waiting.
And she's gonna pop in now, like, oh, I'm here.
Yep. All right, VN, tell us about you and your books.
There she. I knew she would pop in.
It's okay, we got time.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
yeah.
we can.
So the book that I am shamelessly shilling for all of you today is called Apostasy of Mourning. It is like Red Rising meets Poppy War with maybe a dash of Fifth Season and Warhammer, and it follows a grieving mother as she goes through a series of holy trials to find the demigod spy that offed her children. It's very weird talking about books on TikTok because you can't use any of the words. So you can't say the KI double hockey stick words.
Yeah.
But yeah. So she's trying to hunt an immortal spy that took her family from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't have to be high fantasy, just so you know, SJ. Just
Yeah.
as long as there's
That's
like a
just-
baseline of fantasy.
Yeah. And also, we're not going to leave a slot empty if there are none of those in the audience who want to jump up. So,
Yep.
yeah. So, all right. So VN, your book, is it currently coming out?
I have decided on releasing it on the 7th of July because that's the Monday after the holiday.
Okay.
So I'm committed to doing that. I'm getting it the print versions like formatted, getting some final map work done right now. But in the meantime, I have posted some sample chapters on my WordPress, and if you DM me, I would be ecstatic to provide the link to that.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit more about your book. I forgot to start my timer again, of course. But you got like 2.5 more minutes to talk about it. So tell us a little bit more about your book. Tell us
Where did you get the idea from for your book?
There you go.
So kind of like KR mentioned, the other KR earlier, where they were thinking about writing like a larger story and then decided to write something else. The mother in this story was a character in a previous story, and I always knew I wanted to write something about her journey. That larger story is like garbage because I wrote it really early on in my author career, and like I don't even want to open the Word doc right now. That's a different problem. But this story, I felt like I wanted to try making a debut length novel of this character, and I kind of knew just at the beginning that her family was going to get eliminated. Not sure by who or how, but it all kind of fell together. So her family is eliminated by a knight in an order of one of 12 orders of immortal knights of the empire that she lives in called Atlas. So it kind of has some Warhammer type Space Marine vibes. If the Space Marines use their immortality to do nefarious things like crimes to build money and try to overthrow the government.
Awesome.
And then,
go ahead.
Yeah, and then in reading Red Rising this past year, I realized it's very similar to Red Rising with a similar revenge type story, a similar like military bureaucracy, little bit more religion comes into play in my story. But
awesome.
Yeah, if you like Red Rising, you'll get a kick out of this.
Cool. Where can we find this book? What's the best way for people to connect with you besides you said you'd send links? Do you have like an email list or anything?
I am building an email list, so if you DM me, I can add you to the email list. I can also give you my WordPress link, which has a join mailing list feature that should work.
Okay.
So really the best way is to DM me and ask me all the questions that your heart desires.
All right. Awesome. We're going to have you jump down and we're going to invite 2 more people up if we have 2 people waiting. I know that there are 2 people in here. SJ, did you want to jump up next? Or you if you're still hanging in here? Ready. She's ready.
I'll bring SJ up.
Okay.
She's not in the thing. What is it?
She said ready. So, or you can request SJ if it's not. Let him. You're welcome, Vian. Thanks for coming up.
Oh, I was like, it's being weird. I don't know.
Hello.
Like she wasn't in the thing for some reason, but I seen her typing.
I was here. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm here. Hello.
Hello. Tell us who you are. Tell us about your book.
I am S.J. Taylor. I am a self-published author. I do have a trilogy out, but it is not fantasy, so we'll just hold off on that one. That one is new adult. The current book that I'm working on is, it's actually turning out to be romantasy, which I meant it to be more fantasy, but that's okay. It is romantasy. It is what it is. It's got a little bit of sci-fi. Basically, our female protagonist built this beautiful, she thinks, and one night after her fiance, she realized she has basically played for a very long time by very powerful people who intend to use her and her expertise as a historian to investigate some things in the early 1700s surrounding pirates and paranormal happenings. She doesn't know what those things are, and while she tries to escape during a very vicious storm, she ends up in the past anyway, except she has no idea what she's supposed to do. And she basically right away has to choose between trusting the pirate captain and the gallows. So she's like, well, it's literally life or death, so we're gonna do what we do here and see what happens with the pirates, even knowing the risks. So there's lots of high seas things. I mean, it's very pirate, okay? Like I went as far as I could. I want it to feel like it's Captain Jack Sparrow, okay? I want you to feel like you're there with them. So sword fights on the high seas. You've got frenemy pirates. You've got shifters. And the concept of shifters in this is less of like your typical shifter novel, and it's more like think of trying to preserve these shifters that the humans have tried to make extinct. And so anyway, there's prophecies and sea shanties and the whole 9 yards. So
what a professional SJ is. We just popped up out of
They're also
I'm sweating.
1700s. Are there rum rations?
I even talk about how they use rum to preserve water to keep bacteria. I'm doing my research.
Bleach.
So
I'm
That's
gonna have to
awesome.
message you about, and there's a new pirate game that's out right now, like that. I'm gonna have to message you about.
I may actually already know about it. So
He actually made it. Just kidding.
yeah, no.
All right. And
I actually don't jack in. I pulled it up seconds before I jumped up here. So we're just really
it's a great
good
way
on
to
the fly,
practice.
I
If you
guess.
guys are not sure that you're ready, this is a great way to find it. This is low stakes, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, but like what a
yeah.
well-rounded pitch. Like you came in
Yeah.
like just like shooting from the hip, and it was like everyone's is like interested. Like everyone's like, well, shit.
Good. That's
Mine
great.
over.
I say romantasy, but I want people to understand that I really try my hardest. I'm not a fan of cheesy romance. Like I want this to feel like something with high stakes. It's hard fought, it's hard won. It's people with flaws that see that and have to confront each other and themselves and the things that they do and don't like about themselves and whether or not that risk is worth it. So this, I want, like, I always want my plot and my romance to go hand in hand. So if you love a great story, but you love like the high tension, low spice aspect of romance, that's what I add to my stories. I am just going to put out there because I know this is a quick thing. It comes out in August, but the ARC signups are up. Those ARCs will not go out until late June, and they will be e-copies, which means they will go to your email. You can download them, put them on your Kindle. But the ARC signups are out, and I would like to get at least 50. I'm halfway there to that goal. So if you guys are interested in being an ARC reader, which means you get the finished product early and then you go basically review it so that other people want to read it, I would love to have you. You basically just have to give me an email and say, I'm not going to pirate your stuff. So that's basically it.
You use Book Funnel for that, right?
I do use Book Funnel, yes.
That's the question.
Yeah, we need to do
Awesome.
one with her and Tom next
Yes.
go around. Like
Yeah.
that would be
You two together be so much fun. Okay, we're gonna have you pop down. We'll see.
Thanks,
Thank you
if
so
anybody
much.
else. I know that. I know Jack Ann said she was gonna wait for the second round because her kid's going to bed. Victoria, do you want to pop up? I know she's got a couple books, at least one that's already out, and I think one that's like coming out, maybe. But yeah, it's like historical fantasy is kind of her vibe.
I love historical fantasy.
Yeah. Hello, friend.
Your book is kind of historical
Hi.
fantasy in a way, almost.
Can you see me? I don't think you
No,
can see me.
I don't. No, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
I don't know why you can't see me. Hang on. Oh, here. Okay. Wait. I just turned it. Okay. Hi.
Hello. All right. Tell us about you and your book or books.
Hi, everybody. My name is Victoria. I am a historical-ish author. One book that I have out is this historical light fantasy, which is about Olga of Kiev and her revenge. It's like a medieval. She's the first female ruler of a medieval kingdom known as Kievan Rus. And her husband is unalived by a neighboring Slavic tribe, and then she goes on a brutal revenge spree to avenge his unaliving. So this is that one. This is the one that's out now, and I have another one coming out end of May. I just extended my timeline because I'm kind of running late with things, but coming out in she is a saint. She is, your medieval history.
Oh.
And she's a saint now in both Orthodoxy and Catholicism. She's because she goes way back enough. And but before she was a saint. In fact, my tagline is before Olga of Kiev was a saint, she was their nightmare. Doon, doon, doon.
Ooh, that's a great tagline.
Thanks. And so that one's already out. The ebook is on Amazon and the physical copy was on Amazon too. However, there was like a slight hiccup, and now I'm trying to fix it on the back of Ingram Spark. They take forever to respond. So I think it's not really available. The physical copy is available through Barnes and Nobles right now, but not through Amazon. Anywho, that's one. And then number 2 is the one that's coming out is also historical, but it's alternate history, and it's a dramedy, a dark comedy about the unaliving of Rasputin's assassination.
I
Wow,
bet you kick ass at writing dark
Oh,
comedy.
oh my God. I enjoyed my time. In fact, I think I want to write another dark comedy after this. I'm literally
Yeah.
researching what other ridiculous historical stories existed.
Yeah, Rasputin's whole story is like just the weirdest shit. If you like watched it, you're like, how is this a thing?
How many times did you botch it? Yeah, it's so unreasonable. And when I started looking into it, the more you dig, the more ridiculous it becomes. Because the story that we know is predominantly there's like 4 men, one's a prince, one's a duke, the others are commoners. But then there's 2 women that were involved that nobody really knows about. And in fact, the only person that was ever arrested for the unaliving was a woman. Her name was Countess Marianne. She was the half sister of the Duke. She was under house arrest for a while, and then they let her go. But anyways, fascinating story. It's called "How Many Nobles Does It Take to Plan an Assassination?" And yeah, and it's going to be released. I'm going to do ARC signups probably at the end of April/early May. I'll give it like a month or so. That's why I kind of pushed out my timeline, just because I wasn't giving the ARCs enough time. And yeah, so I'm like trying to talk fast. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Yeah. Where can we find you and your stuff?
So the pre-order is live now for the Rasputin book, and that one is on Amazon for now. Like, it's unfortunately only the ebook is available for pre-order. The physical copy will be available day of.
Yep. Sounds great. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming up, Victoria.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to bring back KR House and Michael Milwassel for round 2 of the feature interviews. If you guys are ready, will you sound off in the comments? There we go. There's KR. And then when Mick gets back up here, and we are going to do, if you guys are ready for your live readings, or whoever wants to jump on that first.
Yeah, we had to switch you guys up. You know, you couldn't have you on one side
Switch them
anymore.
over. Yeah. So who would like to read first? Who's like ready to roll here? And just FYI, in the comments for the grand, can I say the P word? PRIs?
I don't know
for the gifts. We can say gift. They like that word here.
Yeah,
For
there's
the
going to
gifts, the gift question will be maybe relevant to what they're gonna read for you guys.
Yeah, so the gifts, remember that they came from Mango Media, and I really appreciate that, like, some of these like publishing houses are actually like giving us, like, they're interested in doing this. I think it's a really cool premise that they are like kind of supporting me and like me and KR doing these things to try to keep it going, because it does help keep retention somewhat from people who like hang around and get as many eyes as we can on the authors. That's the main goal for this.
Yep. And for the purpose of TikTok's terms and conditions, they are totally under the value of $20, 100%.
Yeah, they're not very expensive at all.
All right, who's ready?
I guess I am.
You're ready. Mick's ready. I'm
ready.
gonna mute, and you go ahead and read.
I'm gonna read in. How much am I reading?
Just do like a, what
Like
do you want to do?
like max 3 or 4 pages, maybe. If you could make
Okay.
it like a.
I'll just find a good stopping part, which are a couple. I'm going to read from my
Okay.
short story collection, which I
Awesome.
actually, the audio
Definitely.
version of this is in distribution. It's going out any day now. And I actually narrate the first one. There's
Nice.
12 different narrators for 13 different stories for this collection. And I do the first one. So this is a little different from what I usually write. It's more of a comedy. This is chapter 1, short story 1, Manny the Human Mayor, narrated by Michael Milwassel. Idiot Ohio's mayor wasn't human, but nobody knew that. Sure, Mayor Manny looked human. He only had one head and all the right orifices. He didn't have a tail. He had round ears and round pupils. He even had the standard human legs, feet, and arms. No gills, scales, or extra fur anywhere. Nothing about him was even slightly sharp. In short, Manny was a freak. Everyone else had tails or gills or 6 limbs or 2 limbs. All the centaur children mocked him, and the mermaid children he never saw, since he only saw his mother once a year when his father took him to her lake, since he couldn't live with her. Manny's father was a centaur, and his mother was a mermaid. So, by all logic, he should have been anything but human. But magic laughs at logic. And while Manny looked as human as any human could, he wasn't. In fact, that's how he'd gotten his name. When he was born, his mother asked, "Don't you think that baby looks like a man?" To which his father replied, "He is a bit Manny." He even asked his parents if they'd kidnapped him as a baby, and he promised he wouldn't be mad. As far as he was concerned, it was a perfectly normal thing for them to do. But they assured him he was, in fact, their child, as unfortunate as that might be. They said he used to be more like them, but he grew out of it not long after the sky broke and the world changed. Before that, he'd lived with his mother under the lake, but he remembered none of that and wasn't sure it was true. Every year, his father would lead the centaurs to visit that lake, and only his mother could make them drink its water, for most of the centaurs feared the mermaid's territory, except for Manny's father, who'd braved it many years ago when he rescued Manny's mother from a cursed ring she'd gotten stuck around her neck. Once Manny was grown, he set off to seek his fortune. This was odd because it was not something centaurs or mermaids do. It was, however, something monsters believed humans did. Eventually, he found himself in the town of Idiot, Ohio. Now, it is important to note, dear listener, that Manny was stressed. He'd been stressed for as long as he could remember, almost always because of his human appearance, from not fitting in with the centaurs or being able to swim as deep as the mermaids. But now that stress was brought on by his fear that his interactions with humans would expose him for being not human. So when his arrival in town coincided with a large crowd gathering, he felt like a human being in a herd of centaurs, or a human in a surge of mermaids, or really any out-of-place person, which was how he always felt. So really, he felt at home. Being mayor did nothing to help Manny's anxiety. The people of Idiot were not particularly prejudiced against non-humans. They simply had limited experience. In this regard, Manny's presence was extremely helpful in dealing with anything other than humans. This resulted in 2 consecutive elections to mayoral office. So many were Manny's adventures as mayor that you could fill an entire book with them. But we're trying to keep this one short, dear listeners, so we shall focus on the most important encounter of Manny's mayoral career. During Manny's second term, a traveling massage therapist visited the town. Manny was far too nervous about the idea of a massage to get one on his own. But when the therapist showed up at his door, insisting that the service had already been paid for by members of the town who were concerned about his mental health and stress, his anxiety prevented him from rejecting her services. It wasn't that he feared the discovery of his inhuman nature, it was more due to his lack of experience with touch. Whether that be due to centaur culture or centaur culture being less prone to touch, or his own oddness making his fellow centaurs less likely to exchange a casual hug, is a debate for another time. Without going into excessive detail, the massage was a delightful disaster. The masseuse attacked the stress Manny manifested in his muscles with malicious merriment. Each knot knew no reprieve until it ceased to be. It was in this way that Manny discovered his human form was in fact held together by stress. This unveiling began with the sprouting of 2 new arms, followed by the lengthening of his torso and the sudden appearance of scales along his sides. His feet became hooves, his ears grew points, and despite his increased relaxation resulting in increased monstrosity, the masseuse did not stop. She continued until no knots remained and the embarrassment drank with relief, keeping Manny's protest at bay until there was simply no mistaking him for human. When she finally finished, she simply took a step back, said, "That's your time," and departed the room without so much as a chuckle or a tease at his transformation.
I'm like breathless.
There's more. You'll have to read.
Oh man, it's on my shelf. That was delightful.
Not what I expected.
The short story collection's a whole mess of stuff like that.
Oh man. Yeah, I did when I laid that book out.
Good.
I did like browse the first couple lines and I was like, this looks like fun. I'm gonna get to this, and then I never did.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's
you
awesome.
narrate that story in the audiobook, or you narrate a different one?
I narrate that one in the audiobook, yes. Yeah. And then all the narrators are different indie authors or indie narrators for each one.
Yep.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you are now up, KR.
Okay. My book does have a prologue, but I'm going to read from chapter 1 because I like chapter 1. We're just going to do that. If you read it, I know some people skip prologues. You shouldn't skip the prologue, but chapter 1 is better for a reading. Okay. Chanting louder, the offering lifted her arms to the sky, swaying slightly. She stood at the front of the orchard before neatly planted rows of hundreds of trees representing centuries of previous harvests. The orchard was on a small hill, high enough that the thousands of Ashirans watching could see the ceremony. A small mound of dirt covered her feet, and she was framed on either side by 2 wooden stages, trees that had been called into the shape needed for the ceremony. Holy elder sisters in dark green robes lined with silver threads stood on the 2 stages, chanting softly to support the offering song. Her forehead was bare, missing the silver rune that usually marked a cultivator, a holy life caller. She was the harvest offering, a daughter of the orchard, so there was no reason to waste the silver on a rune for her. She'd already begun to suffer some of the effects of wilding. Beyond the unnaturally bright green eyes all cultivators shared, small red flowers sprouted from her hairline. The elder sisters began to move their arms in unison with the offering, who twitched and shuddered as the calling took hold. Flowers sprouted from her hair and around the edges of her face. Small plants grew right out of her skin, breaking it open into angry red slits. Elias had always hated the harvest ceremonies. It was disturbing to see the chosen daughter transform, unsettling. But this year was worse than before because this time he knew the offering personally. It was tragic and painful to see the woman now who'd watched him as a child suffer like this. For the past 2 weeks, people had been speaking of Holly Schultz only as the offering, even those who worked Lord Stead's farm and had grown up with her just as he had. To be chosen as the offering was among the greatest honor a young life caller could receive. Supposedly, she'd be happier in the orchard than any human could imagine in the holy rapture of Gaia's eternal presence. As Holly's dance grew more erratic, Elias looked away. He stared at his feet instead, watching beetles crawl through the thick grass, occasionally fluttering leaf-like wings. Being blessed by Gaia was a blessing. Her life callers wielded her divine power to manipulate life in its purest form in all green and growing things, but in his private prayers, when he remembered to say them, Elias thanked the goddess for leaving him well enough alone. Not that she would have been interested in someone like him anyway. As Holly chanted, thick vines grew upward in a circle around her, obeying her commands. They spiraled around her legs, pinning them together, and slithered up and around the sleeves of her white robe like snakes, thick, green, and suffocating. The elder sisters' chanting grew steadily louder. They were old enough to be in various stages of wilding despite their runes, a green tint to their wrinkled and pallid skin. They whispered their own chants, and in response to their life calling, a variety of plants sprouted to life all around Holly. The display was meant to be beautiful, a visual chorus coupled with an auditory one, an offering befitting Gaia, the goddess of life. And I don't know if I should keep going. That was roughly 2 pages. Oh. Hello?
Oh, sorry. You can keep going. Sorry,
Okay,
I didn't realize I was muted.
Okay, how many pages did I go to?
like you do up to 4.
Up to 4, okay. Elias knew he should at least pretend to pay attention. But the harvest ceremonies were the same every single year. They were painful to watch and lasted far too long, and he really didn't want to see Holly like this. She had always been there in the background of his life. She was one of the few people who'd been kind to him, who had treated him like an equal. And of course, he felt bad for Mark. Poor Mark, who would never get the chance to speak with her again. Elias wasn't even sure if he believed these ceremonies made much of a difference. Much like the ceremonies, the harvest itself was about the same every single year. But maybe if they ever stopped doing the ceremonies, that would change. People far wiser than him had planned it all. Who was he to know? The crowd was packed tightly together in front of the orchard. Far too many people in far too little space. There were orchards in each of Ashira's 5 provinces, and the one at this farm had been planted before Lord Stead, Elias's great uncle, had even been born. Elias Newstead was proud to be the lord of not only a productive, but religiously significant farm. Not that he had ever talked to the man, that's just what everyone said. No one as important as Lord Stead would lower himself to talk to someone like Elias. He could barely stand to be near Elias's mother, and Stead hadn't known her since she was an infant. Elias looked around, distracting himself by watching the crowds. No matter where the ceremony was held, each year it was more crowded than the last. It was crazy to think that the same ritual was happening in the other 7 provinces at this very moment. Nearly 2 million people, all worshiping at the same time. Regardless of your occupation during the year, at harvest, nearly every man, woman, and child helped out. They were rewarded for the work with more food than they could ever eat, 3 days of festivities, and higher than average rates of payment. Or at least that was how it had been. But as more and more children had come of age, available jobs had grown fewer and fewer, even during the harvest. Elias had never been able to consistently find work during the year, and he had always counted on the harvest time as a time when there would be so much to do that even he would be hired. Last year was the first time he'd been unable to find work during a harvest. He would have to move quickly this year, or it would be the same. At the edges of the crowd, small gaggles of holy cultivators stood waiting for their part in the ceremony, attended by acolytes, cultivators in training, indicated by the white stripes on their green robes. It was their job to give the plants one last encouraging call before the harvest began. The important work, in Elias's opinion. Their calling enabled his Sharon crops to be the most bountiful in the world. He stood on his toes, trying to get a peek over the crowd. Finally, he spotted who he was looking for. His brother stood in the center of a group to the left. Elias still expected to see a shock of wavy blonde hair on his older brother, but it had been shaved off, as was the rule for acolytes. Mark, unsurprisingly, fixated on Holly intently. Elias didn't want to watch, but his brother no doubt felt that Holly's final moments on Earth deserved every bit of his attention. Mark's normally serious face looked almost angry, like it always did when he held back tears. Elias grimaced. He'd never tell Mark that he thought everything Mother Time said about the Daughters of the Orchard being in eternal rapture was a bunch of chaff. Mark believed it all. He had always been devout, even before he'd been blessed with life calling. Elias couldn't take away any hope Mark might have for Holly's eternal joy. Maybe it was all true, and this was the best day of Holly's life. Elias wished it were, for her sake. He forced himself to focus on the stage. The least he could do was follow Mark's lead and honor Holly's final moments. As the vines grew thicker around her, the women's chanting grew louder and louder. The whispers of the other holy ones had risen to a chorus nearly as loud as the song of the harvest daughter herself. The elder sisters locked hands and swayed side to side, like trees in a strong wind. The vines nearly covered Holly's entire body, shooting upward past her head, twisting into branches. They tightened around her as her song reached a particularly high note. Holly's eyes grew wider, but she continued singing, practically screaming as she approached the greatest end a young life caller could reach.
All right.
So that's it. That's the start of chapter 1.
All right.
Nice.
That kind of reminds me of looking at the cover of the book.
Yes.
Like, that's
That
kind of
is
like
the
what. Yeah, is that the cover? Is that the scene, or is it? You don't have to. If it's a spoiler, don't say it. But yeah, super interesting, awesome. All right, so I hope you guys paid attention because I wrote down a question related to each one. They're not like I'm not trying to trick you. I want you to win, so it's okay, But I hope you paid attention. So, all right. So, Mick, what inspired that ridiculously delightful story?
I saw a post one time about if like a centaur and a mermaid or two creatures that were half human had a kid, would they have a human kid? And I was like, well, that's
was it a Plunky
fun story.
Doodles post?
It could have been. I love Plunky
man.
Doodles. It's entirely possible. It was definitely inspired by something on the internet, and I was like, I'm gonna run with this.
When memes grow past their
Right. It's so perfect for my world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of fun. So
I did the meme.
You did the meme. You did.
You'd be surprised. There's memes hidden throughout my stories. There's a Rickroll that persists throughout the entire series,
Oh man, that's really funny.
woven into the pages.
Yep. All right, KR. What? I feel like where to open the story is something that writers that we always are like, all right, we know the story. Where do we start for the reader? What landed you in that spot? Like, was that a long journey? Was that like kind of obvious, or like walk me through your thought process?
Yeah, I think in earlier drafts, right, it started different. But once I landed on what I'm very much like, the plot changed drastically from the first draft to like the third draft. And by the third draft, I was like, no, this is what the story is about. So I chose this. The reason I chose it was because I was like, this would be awesome. This was just like a crazy moment if they turned this young woman into a tree at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
And it fits into a lot of the theme. And like part of the book is like, you're like, what is this grove that is their religious institution? Like, what is it? What are they doing? What do they want? Why do they do the things that they do? And I also feel like it kind of sets the tone because like it's kind of like the main characters are younger. It's a little bit YA, but it does have those darker themes in it. And I feel like it's just, I don't know. I thought it was something that like gripped you in. And then after I wrote that scene, I workshopped it with a writing group, and they were like, oh, so like they were coming up with all these theories about like what was going on. And I was like, oh yeah. I'm good at explaining all these. I was like, they were like, oh, what's the point of these orchards? And I was like, oh, yes.
Dead people tea.
They're people. Oh man.
Yeah, there's more to it. There's a lot going on there, but it's just like a taste of like some of the mysteries of the world and all that stuff. So
It's a fantastic start.
thank
That's
you.
awesome.
I like it. My mom read it and she was like, are you okay? Why is this?
I am now.
Yeah. Very cathartic. Thank you. Oh man. I do have a soft spot for enchanted trees that maybe have more to them, and if you've read my books, you know.
I need you. You're on my TBR. It's just
yeah. We
People,
can
horse
be
people,
in
and
the
now tree people.
the enchanted tree people club. together.
Yeah, yeah, all three of us, right? We got a lot of those.
Plenty and forests for the win.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So,
Treeple.
treeple. I love words. English is such a Frankenstein language, man. Let's just keep it going. You know. Yeah, I do feel like the opening of a story is, at least for me as a writer, is a really difficult thing to land on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't just put pen to paper, if you like fret over, is this the right spot, you'll never start.
Right.
So
You can always change it later. That's
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what the edit is for.
Very true.
Yeah.
So-
or your writing group or your co-author, you know.
So
Yeah.
as authors for both of you guys, like, because these books weren't, well, this might be for you, Mike, but were these, because you said this wasn't the first book you started to write, right, KR? So for both of you guys, what was the big hurdle for you, like, getting into that first, like, I'm going to try to write a book, this is where I want to start it? Like, how, was there nerves you had to fight over to get through, like, actually trying to write a book? Like, how was that for each of you guys, if that makes sense?
I would
Yeah,
say,
no, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. I would say for me, I have wanted to write a book like for almost as long as I can remember. Like, it's always been a goal of mine. And I think I loved books so much that whenever I sat down to write one and it wasn't as good as the books that I loved, I was like, well, then what's the point? And so I think what helped me to finally finish this one was like, okay, you can't be great at the beginning, right? Like, feels like a crazy, like, you know, it feels super arrogant to even have that. But I think a lot of people feel that, like, you know, if you really love books, you want to make a book that is like really good. And it's just kind of embracing the messy first draft and be like, no, we just have to get from the beginning to the end and we'll fix everything later. Fix it in post.
Yeah, make it happen. You can make it pretty
Yep.
later.
As a former professional photographer, writing is the only appropriate place to say fix it in post.
Like, that's why, like, there's some people that, like, I always say this, like John, like, for John Gwynn's first book to be Malice, to me always, like, blows my mind that, like, the first book he ever tried to write was, like, that good, where it's like, I can't remember if that was a New York Times bestseller, but, like, for that to be, like, starting off, you're like, this guy's crazy. So, like, I really understand that, because, like, as someone who's, like, tried to write a book and was like, never mind.
Well, and that book probably went through a couple drafts before it became what it is.
I'm sure it did, but, like, you get what I'm saying, that, like,
Yeah.
like, some people, like, they'll sit down and try to write something and they're like, no, this isn't what I'm looking for. Or, like, how many people did like I did? They wrote, like, you know, like 3,000 words. It was like, man, this shit is fucking not easy. Like, this is so hard.
It's really hard. It is really hard.
My best explanation for, like, how hard it is to write a book to people, like, in my mind, is like, you're creating two people, like, you're creating people that never existed, and you're having them have a conversation that never existed. Like, all of that always just messes with my mind. Like, all of these things that never existed, that you're just like, it happened now. Like,
right.
That was always the part that's so interesting.
If people want really fun, engaging writing tips, this lady down here maybe gives some of those. She has a really cool whiteboard, and she does the pen pop thing, and then, like, goes to the board and.
Yes, people love the whiteboard. I had someone in my comments was like, "Who just has a whiteboard in their house?" And I'm like, "Nerds."
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. My
Who
6-year-old
doesn't?
daughter has one that's like gang graffiti in there right now. Like, look at East LA Street. But yeah, it always, like, like, I think that's why I started to do, like, these, like, interviews like this, is to really, like, there's so much more that goes into books. Like, as readers, right? We're always just like, we think, like, oh, like, you know, theoretically, like, pen to paper, and then cool shit happens, and then we read it, and we're like, that was great. And there's so many more steps that are involved than you ever could dream of. Like,
right,
you know, cover art and editing, and, like, there's Congress involved. Like, there's all these things that you don't think of as a reader, that you just, like, you just think it just comes from you guys straight to us, and we just live the dream of reading a cool book. But there's so much more to it, you know, and it's crazy.
Yep.
As my dogs go wild.
So since we're on the topic of the struggles of writing, what do the two, when you're writing and you're like, I'm hitting a wall, I need to, like, I need to clear my head. What is it that you guys do that helps you kind of get back into the groove?
Get back into the groove of writing. For
What
me,
jumpstarts your productivity, I guess?
jumpstarts having time, squeezing the time in to do it. One of the things I like to do as an exercise is I work on my equivalent of a Silmarillion. So there's two different things I do. So one is because I'm writing multiple POVs, it's easy to get stuck in a POV, and the easiest thing to do with that is when I hit a roadblock with the POV, is just switch to a different POV. Because it rewires how my brain is thinking, because each POV has to be thought differently. Or the writer's block trick I use, which is where I change the weather in the scene. Because if you change the weather in the scene, it changes everything about the scene. It changes how the characters react. It changes the descriptors of the environment. It changes the whole scene, and it forces you to reprogram how you are approaching that scene. So it really helps with writer's block. So those are kind of my main ones. I had another thing, and it slipped my brain as I was speaking.
Yeah. All right, KR, how about you?
I agree with what Mike said. Like, also, is it Mike or Michael?
Michael.
Sorry, Michael. Okay,
You're good.
Michael said about like jumping to a different scene. Like sometimes if I'm like, this is not working, I'm like, let me go ahead and write a part that I am excited about. And sometimes after you write what's something you're excited about, you've got the energy to go back. Sometimes I will, if I'm really stuck on like something, I will write in italics like what's supposed to go there, and then keep going. Be like, oh, in this scene, this person fights this person, and they argue about this, and then and then a more psychological trick is sometimes I'll listen to music with words. If like the issue is the internal editor or the perfectionism, I listen to lyrics to be like, okay, my brain cannot listen to lyrics and think critically about the writing. So that's not going to work for everyone, but like, I found it to be like sometimes a good, like, okay, we need to like trick the mind.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, we're so grateful that you guys were able to come. This was a little bit of a scheduling kerfuffle to get figure out. Like they were like, wait, that it falls on Easter, and then it was like falling on Jeff's like daughter's birthday, and they're like, okay, we'll do this week. We'll see. You know, and Mick just came from another event.
Yeah, we've got one of the people that got my book there in the comments.
That's awesome.
This was This ended up being like outside of Easter weekend, the only weekend I had free this week, this entire month. So like I said, I have one of my daughter's birthdays and like Easter, and I'm going to like out of town next weekend. So like it was a Jenga puzzle of things.
So besides,
do I have time for one more question? Because I thought of a question as they were talking, and it's hitting me. How do you guys, and this may be a long one, so sorry, but how do you guys go about editing or like thinking out a fight scene during a book? Like the choreography of a fight scene in books, some people do it extremely well and others not so much. And as you guys were both talking, I was thinking my way through that on my own. And how do you guys deal with that? Like, do you guys use inspiration? Like, what's your process of writing a fight scene?
It varies so much depending on like what they're up against and what the environment is, you know. So a standard fight, it's the environment can be the opponent more than the opponent if it's a weaker opponent versus a monster. If it's a monster they're fighting, you have to consider how are they actually going to beat the monster, what are the advantages each side has. So there's a lot of back and forth. One of my biggest advantages in that too, though, is my co-author Dave is an Army veteran. And I brought him on to the project because he was a veteran. And so I wanted to make sure our language and our tactics and all that was grounded. So I have sort of a cheat code with that, with these modern military forces, and having someone who can step in and be like, well, no, you guys are an Army Ranger. So he would do this and have his guys do that. And so I just kind of, when it comes to that, I just kind of leave it to him. And I'm like, all right, here's the monster. And we sort of have a back and forth where he's operating the units or the people with the real military experience, and I'm operating the monster because it's not human and it's going to think differently, and we back and forth on it until we have a conclusion.
Do you guys ever roll dice for that?
No, we wouldn't let dice determine how something in the story happens.
No. Oh, come on. Oh, you give them stats.
If I start putting stats on things, Dave is going to lose his mind. They're all up here.
So how do you choreograph a fight scene? Like, how does it work for you?
I think fight scenes were one of those things that I was really like. I was specifically when I was thinking of the book, I was like, I don't want to write a battle scene because like they're so hard. And then I ended up writing a battle scene.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that helped was I did do some research on like medieval battles and like what did those look like. And then I was like, okay, but these people have magic. That's actually like magic is very long range effect stuff. So I ended up watching a lot of videos of like clips from World War II movies.
Excellent.
Like in I think it's in Saving Private Ryan. There's like a part where they, when they storm the beach, and this guy's like he picks up his arm and he's like walking around and he's like in shock. And so I tried to incorporate some of that stuff in this book because there's all this area of effect stuff and the long range stuff. So I tried to make it brutal like that, and I also tried to remember, okay, I'm in the character's head. Like my character who's in the battles is not a general, he's not a strategist, he's really not a fighter by choice. So it's very much like all the fights are like about his emotion, or like, it's less about the choreography and more about his emotions. And I think that helps determine what the choreography is for me at this stage in my writing, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I think if I could just add one more thing, if you want to try and get experience writing fights without actually going to war, go play paintball or play a competitive sport. I played a game in college, and this sounds silly. It's called Humans versus Zombies, where we were running around with Nerf guns, and it was tag with Nerf guns. Of
course you
the enemy
did.
people. Yeah, that's how I met Dave. But it gives you real life experience in the kind of psychology of intense combat situations, because your brain gets in this headspace, this competitive headspace, and your vision focuses in on what you're doing, and your heart rate gets escalated and stuff. And so those elements of that, being able to experience that and having opponents and things, and actually being able to engage in a competitive environment that triggers similar things to actual battle, is a great way of giving yourself a grounding in that. And watching like war movies and stuff is also a great way.
That's a really good suggestion.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys so much. We're out of time. We could talk to you guys all night, but our families are gonna get really mad at us. So, and probably everybody would fall asleep. But I would love to know where's the best place for readers to connect with you guys. You got newsletters, you got other, socials here, all that.
I've got newsletter. I've got all the socials everywhere. I'm the same person, all the places.
There you go.
Super easy.
Yeah, I also have a newsletter. I'm not super active with it. I tend to just be like, but I am on the internet in general, social media all the time, on all the socials. If you send me a message, I will respond unless it's crazy. So yeah, I'm on all the socials.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you guys so much for coming up. We're going to do one more round of author roulette, and that is where indie authors in the chat can raise their hands, shout at us to come up and give us your 4-minute book pitch. We'll do a couple of those, up to maybe 3 or 4. And we are prioritizing epic fantasy and lit RPG, but if those aren't you but you're still an indie author and people aren't jumping up, you can come up. I see that LK Winter is in the chat, and I know that they have a pretty great book. And then if, I know Jack Ann was hoping to come up once her kid fell asleep. So if you are an indie author and you have a human written book with human covered art on the cover, you are welcome to pop up here and tell us a bit about your book. So, Jack Ann, hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Ooh, pretty.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! All right, tell us about yourself and your book.
Well, I am Jack Ann Marie. I am a dark fantasy author / gothic fantasy author. My published book is Fall to Shadow, the blue one there. It came out actually almost 2 years ago. This summer will be 2 years, which is crazy. It is basically about a reluctant prince who embarks on a quest to rescue his forbidden love, who has been captured by their enemy to the north. And while she is captured, she figures out that a whole bunch of things that they thought they knew have actually been lies. And he is also caught up on a storm of manipulation and betrayal, and his magic is spiraling out of control, and she has to confront him on the field of battle and try to convince him to see their enemy's perspective and keep him from falling to shadow. So that's what that one's about. And then I am currently working on a separate project, which is a gothic fantasy, and it is called Those Who Devour, which is the other cover on the screen. And that one is about a woman who has been in hiding, and she is taken away from her family and thrust into this academy of sorts where she has to learn elixir magic and battle monsters. And she figures out that these people, the high mages, have basically enthroned themselves on the blood of the free, and the humans and Elix alike have been I should probably be careful what I'm trying to say here. They it's a pretty dark book, so I gotta be careful what words I'm using here. But so she basically has to make a decision between choosing empathy or wrath, and that's kind of the whole theme for the book is, can you have wrath and anger and also balance empathy, or is it one of the other? And the FMC has to try to balance this, and you'll have to read the book to find out if they can do that, or if one is more powerful than the other.
Is that the one I read the critique piece of?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, the vibes are rocking.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm so excited for it, honestly.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
It's going to be coming out fall 2026. So this coming fall, it'll be out. I'm hoping for ARC signups this summer for it to be like a summerween read for people. So that's currently what I'm working on, and it's going really well. I'm super excited for that project, mostly.
Cool. Awesome. And where is the best place for people to get their hands on these and to get connected with you?
The best place to connect with me for my author stuff is right here on this account. I do also have another account, which is also in my place that you can find the things. And that is more so for editing stuff, but you can contact me either place. The best place to find Fall to Shadow is on the Rainforest place, the Zon. And then for the other book, Those Who Devour, that's going to have a form that you can do in the place of the things. In the place.
Awesome. Do you have like a newsletter or anything like that?
I do have a Substack. I pretty much need to revive it from the grave at this point because I haven't been on there.
All right. LK is asking, where do you get all your inspiration for the darker stuff? What's wrong with you, Jack Ann?
I wish I could tell you. No, I guess I'm I've been seeing this trend going on here where it's like weird girl, remember who you are. And I guess I've always been like a weird girl, like Tim Burton and like Edward Scissorhands and like all of that kind of stuff. So I guess that's where I get it from. And my mom's birthday was on Halloween. So, maybe it's just in my blood.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for having me up, guys. I don't know if that was 4 minutes or not, but
you got 5 seconds left.
5 seconds left. All right, cool. Thanks for having me, and this has been awesome.
Awesome. And if there are authors in the chat who need developmental edits, I know she wasn't pitching this, but Jack Ann is a hell of a developmental editor. I'm just saying.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So,
nice shout out.
Yeah, if there are any authors in the chat who would like to pop up, you are welcome to. If not, we have a couple of other things we can chat about, and then we'll get into our prizes. So I hope you were paying attention to the reading. Those were really engaging readings. They were last time too, but like my life's mission on TikTok is to bring live readings back. Make live readings the greatest ever.
You don't. It's a problem.
Hey, okay. So I do want to say about the you start out in writing and you're like, oh, this sucks. That's normal. If you don't have that, you're probably delusional. I'm serious. But it's like learning to walk. Like babies don't like take one step and fall and are like, this sucks, I'm never doing that again. Like if you have writer in your soul, if you have that story you want to tell, you'll go through the pain of building the muscles to learn how to do it, and you will not regret a single moment you spent doing that. So fall in love with the process. The process is the point. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. So before these people like throw a riot in the comment section, is there anyone else that wants to jump up here to tell us about their books that actually have books? Because I have like a sentence.
And I can chit chat a little bit about the book projects that I have going on too. The process is great. And if you find friends, writing community people like Jack Ann who will read my really sad short stories with sarcastic cats, it's really fun to have all that kind of feedback. If you put the book out and people read it, that's great. But at least for me, the greatest joy in the entire process is having the process come through all of the crucibles to fruition, to being done and being ready to publish it. That's, to me, like knowing that I did all that work, knowing where it started, like, oh, it was a cool idea and it started out as a hot mess and then it got to a place that I'm super proud of it. That's it for me. So
So do you want to we could do the giveaway now and then kind of chit chat a little bit longer.
Yeah. If you guys are ready, I do have some giveaway questions here. So for Michael Milwassel's reading, what was the name of the Ohio town where Manny was the mayor? Do you remember the name of the town? Everybody giggled when it was said. That's my hint. Anybody know the name?
Anyone's here? How many questions did you write down?
I wrote down a couple.
Anyone names it? I wonder if there's people, because that's my one worry is that like people like are here and then aren't here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It's stuck with me. Yes, SJ, you're right.
SJ, so
SJ got it.
I'll DM you, SJ, and tell you what I will need from you to get you the things.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if anybody typed it in and it like didn't let them do it. I didn't think about that word being maybe not one that they like to type, which is why I get bananaed all the time on here. All right, question number 2. And remember that these are for book gifts. We can say gifts. What is it letting us send the real word? Yeah, okay. Another lesson for the books for me. My gosh. All right. For KR House's reading, what did Holly, the chosen daughter, turn into during the ceremony? What was she in the process of becoming? That one, I know that this one we can. This is a safe word. All right, LK got it.
Okay, so that is going to be our 2 winners.
There are 2 winners. Thank you for playing.
So I will DM you. Okay, thank you. Is see all the things that I need from you guys. So just remember, that's a big thing that you guys want to stick around to the end because you're always going to have a shot at getting something. I'm going to try really hard to always have this sponsored some way or the other. I don't even know if you're allowed to say sponsored, but have it to where there's something that's kind of cool. What's the one? Books. Books.
Gifts.
So yeah, Mango Media is the backer of today's event in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I get nothing out of it. Like it's literally just they give us some things that we can, ship across the continental U.S., which is a big part of that too. I forgot to mention that part. That you have
they're both in the continental U.S.
Yeah, I know, but I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, we did. Well, and I think I know with the last one they said they could do like ebooks or something if it was internet.
Yeah, but so just DM me guys so that way I remember it was the 2 of you guys. And if there's any other authors that want to pop up, we have about roughly 15 minutes left.
Half of you is in the the L is in the U.S. Oh man, yeah. If there's anybody else, it doesn't have to be epic fantasy. It doesn't have to be fantasy. Those are just the first picks. So even if you're writing sci-fi or stuff, whatever you want. I think LK said that whoever's running that account right at the moment wasn't in a state to come up, but if they change their mind, yeah. So if you guys have not followed Mick and my arms fighting sleep okay, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little older, but like they don't really fight in my arms anymore, but they do jump on their beds and make forts when they're supposed to be sleeping. So I get that. Yeah, but if you haven't already, if you can go follow Michael Mawassel and KR House and go connect with their stuff, that'd be awesome. They are like, I've read Mick's book and I'm starting to read KR's book, and it took some willpower to not just like not do the things I was supposed to be doing and just sit down and read it. After reading the epilogue, it was pretty great. It was very engaging.
I'm excited for the second one to be out. I forgot to ask, I don't know if she's still in here. Do they have audiobooks does she have an audiobook for her book yet?
She does not. I feel like hers would make a really good audiobook the way it's written. Hunter, you're the one who met Mick today. That's awesome. Hers is in SPFBO. I think she said that it just got cut. We're kind of in the later part of round 1.
KR
coming this summer. Oh, nice.
Send me a message because I want to listen to it. I have a job to where I can listen to a lot of audiobooks throughout the day, and it helps my workday go really fast. So I do predominantly all of my reading that way because it helps me at work. Yeah, I'm really big on audio, and that's just the best way I can get like books done because I'm lazy when I get home and I want to do other things.
Yeah,
it's a problem.
Not lazy. That's just other priorities. It's okay. Yeah. So, oh god, yeah. I'm seeing a lot. I'm just like, man, they're starting to cut the good books. Yeah. If you guys don't know what SPFBO is, that is the Self-Published Fantasy Blog Off, and it's where they take. They have a lottery system where they randomly choose 300 books. They have to be self-published fantasy books. They have to either be a standalone or a first in a series. It's run by Mark Lawrence, who is the author of like the book that wouldn't burn and a bunch of he's got a bunch of books on his backline. He is a traditionally published author at this point, but he still runs this. He's super active in the indie community. He's super cool guy. I don't know if he's on TikTok. I know he's on the other place.
Maybe when we do well, now we got 10 minutes, so what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Maybe when we do one on Instagram, we'll
we will. We do plan to kind of like trade off where we're doing this. So
see how freeing it is on Instagram and never come back.
I have no idea. I've like done it twice. The one time you popped out to test it, I was like, hey, for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I was just curious on how that
Daughter of Crows is this new one. Okay, yeah. But it's 10 different fantasy review blogs are part of the judging, the judging lineup for this. And they each of the blogs, sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's a team of people, get 30 books from the pile of 300. And the first round is where they pick their semifinalists for themselves out of the slush pile. They call it the slush pile. So I think they pick 5 for their semifinalists, and then they pick 1 out of that then goes on to the next round, so that there's 10 books in the next. It goes from 300 to 10. And then those books get read by all of the judges, and they all have like ranking systems, and whichever one scores the highest is the winner. A lot of well-known books have come out of this that are either still self-published or have gone on to get traditional deals. And the point is not to get a traditional deal. But, hey, neighbor. But the Sword of Kaigen won, I believe, in 2019. Yeah, very good book. So really good. I mean, it is
You just said the
very
Sword of
stiff
Kaigen was the
competition.
previous one. That's so funny. Like as you're saying it, people are typing like
Yeah,
Sword of Kaigen,
they're
huh?
typing it in. Yes, so lots of really well known books. Reign and Ruin, I think, was one of them. I think that's more like a. It's not like a romantasy. It's like a romantic fantasy, I think. Um, yeah, so it's a really cool competition, but very good books get cut because it is very, very competitive. Sword of Kaigen on hold. Can't wait. Yeah, I am waiting for my Wraith marked Sword of Kaigen. They've had some hiccups in their production for that one, but it'll be worth the wait. So that's fine. Yeah. So we are in the wrap up time slot. We appreciate everybody hanging out. Still, we got a good amount of people here hanging out still.
My mic got cut.
Yeah, so if you're just joining us, got cut from SPFPO when he entered. Yeah, there you go. I was saying a lot of really good authors have been in this and won or gotten cut in the first round. You know, like it doesn't mean that they're bad books, but it's also really good press and buzz for any book because a lot of the authors who are in it will like read and review other books that are in it and stuff. There's like a Discord going on. There's a Facebook group. And people talk about this stuff. It's very fun. So if you guys don't know what that is and you like to support like the indie fantasy community, that is a good thing to pay attention to. There is also one for sci-fi. It's a similar structure, and I believe it goes on at the same time. I'm not 100%
LJ,
sure.
you
Too scared. Oh, come on.
Okay, you just did a contest and won, so you know.
Yeah. What do you mean you're scared? Come on. So anyway, if you are just joining us, because I feel like I see people popping in now, this is the end credits of Author Roulette, which is a live, obviously, indie author interview game show. I don't know. There's
No, it's
gifts.
kind of just like it's just a
it's a
revolving
hangout.
a revolving interview is like was kind of like my thought process of doing it to try to get as many interviews as I can in like a 2-hour setting. We've kind of narrowed it down in a fun way to where we do there's eight shots for an indie author to come up, and then we have 2 main headlining guests. So there's basically 10 authors are going to be interviewed, 11 if you count KR herself. So there's going to be 11 authors and my bald ass in here talking about books. So that's the whole thought of this, is to get as many eyes as we can on authors to help their process along, to help them, because sometimes they are newer authors or this is their first shot, to where they can get their feet wet and talk about books and talk about their book, their process of writing. It's nerve-wracking for some people to do that and be able to just sit here and blab about their book. So hopefully it's a welcoming environment to be able to do that. And that's the goal for this, is to get eyes on books.
Yep. And if you have not had a lot of opportunities to practice your pitch, this is a really good low stakes opportunity to do that. If you're nervous and you want to practice ahead of time, like babble in your bathroom mirror. It sounds really wacky, but there are things that happen in your brain when you talk to yourself. And one of those things is gaining confidence. So, good practice for me too. Yes. Listen, friendship and fantasy, watch the evolution of my book, which was a painful ride from the beginning. She's been in there. I must be here.
Like for me, like my on like you were one of like somehow like one of my first followers that I can really remember like being around.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been a weird, funny journey for me. Like now I'm doing like beard commercials for like Mad Viking beer. So like it's becoming a thing. It's kind of funny.
Yep, for sure. I am slowly gaining confidence. Yes, 100%. So we're wrapping up. I'll do a little bit of a pitch, I guess. Where did my book go? Oh, it's sitting right here. So I'm KR Solberg. I write epic flintlock fantasy. So think Castlevania meets The Patriot with a misfit crew, Firefly inspired. It's getting late. So if you like any of those titles, if you like the vibes of Bloodborne, but maybe not quite as dark, like a little bit more hope, this is going to be right up your alley. I read it with my mom, which sounds ridiculous, but she is so much of a nerd that she wrote her master's thesis on Tom Bombadil from The Lord of the Rings. So this is a fantasy nerd's dream. The back 40 or 50 pages is the appendices. So if you need a little nerd in your life, this is for you. You can find my links and get all the stuff. I also have we can't say, we're almost done. Fine. I have a YouTube channel that I do video essays on about things happening in the creative world that I think we should care about. So I would love for you to go check that out if you want to know all of my thoughts on things that are happening in the creative and author and writing world that we want to pay attention to. You can go there and check that out. So
that would be the end, basically, for this month's edition of Author Roulette. I'm Jeff's Bookshelf. This is KR Solberg. We appreciate all you guys sticking around. Like, we actually have had a pretty good sustained audience. It's been around 10 of you guys through the whole thing. Really appreciate it. Really happy that you guys have stuck around for the books and for the people and the vibes. It's been a good time. We will be doing this again next month. So definitely stay tuned, because there will be more information coming out soon about who we're going to have as our featured guests. Someone will probably be doing the same thing for some giveaways. I'm sure of it. So I appreciate you guys sticking around. Thank you very much. I can't say it enough. It's a big thing. It's a big deal for me, at least. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we get out of here, KR?
Go read a book, guys.
Or listen to a book.
Or listen to a book. Listening is reading. Okay.
So thank you guys. I'll see you guys all later. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Bye.